Hello coders. In a previous couple of videos I was talking about the links and how the things you can start and get comfortable with it. Today we're going to create a counter application to understand the state and the mutation and the data structure, how the things can really work. Now if you're new in the links, you can roll back to previous my couple of videos to understand how you can set up those things. And there is some people are asking how you can configure that one within that Android Studio or get comfortable with Windows. So I'm gonna drop the video like maybe next day, but it's a pretty simple thing, the one which I'm following here, the similar process. You're gonna just need to do that things to be done. So what you're gonna do, we're gonna just go through that a quick started as I'm using the Mac. So now here, as the folder is here which the build structure, here I'm gonna just take my terminal here, and then it's a pretty simple to start the application, copy those things and then just paste it here. So it's gonna initialize. You can do it, or if you just know how to do it, just fast forward to where I'm just using that counter application the beginning. So let's say counter app. So now I'll go with the TypeScript, and this one I'll go that me for code linting and formatting. Enter, and if I put ls and then cd, should be our counter app and code space dot. So let's open in our code editor. The first foremost things you can see in the source, we have all the scenario, all the code is just happen to be run our application. Let's just take our terminal, and here I'm going to run the command npm I. If you're using the pnpm, then pnpm I, or ear, then ear, that install all the packages. Now as soon as you did that, while it's doing that one, remember to feel free to consent on that. You need to configure the Xcode, and then also for the Android, if you're having the Android, go to the GitHub release, and from there you need to get that one. This one is that Lynx Explorer Notion release.apk. You need to download that one, and after you are having that, just drag and drop the similar things which I have been done here in the downloads. As you see, I drag and drop that one, and pretty much a pretty good way that Explorer is installed. The same thing, you just need to drag and drop in your Android Studio, and that will install your APK. And if you're having trouble to configuring that, let me know in the comments, because what I'm doing to configure a Windows setup for this application, it's some problem is still there, but it will be flexible maybe a couple of days later. But you know what I mean on that. If you're having trouble, let me know in the comments. I will try to fix that. So now as you see, our Explorer is running. So remember, for the Android, you need to do that one, and for the iOS, you can go with that ARM64 if you're having that Mac OS, and then you are having with that M1 or M2 or M4 chip, and if you have the Intel chip, feel free to go with that x86. If you don't go that, your application will not work. So be remember that one. And also one more things you need to do that is that get that Lynx dev tool. So if you click on that, you can see the asset here, and from that asset the similar thing gonna happen. You can get that x68 64, or you can go with that ARM64 bit. So, and also for the Windows, you can get the source code and then run that one. Of course, I'm gonna just tune that one in our Windows section. So now as you see our dev tools, and after you getting the dev tools, similar way you can open that one. You know, the same thing gonna happen. You just open it and it gonna reconnect. If you're familiar with the React Native development, it's kind of same but in a different level. So as you see, I have my developer here, so I'm gonna just pull it down and make it bigger here. So I have my developer, I have my simulator, and I have my everything side by side. Now as I did here, what we need to do to run our application, and installing process is just happen to be done, and npm run dev command which will happen to run our program. So npm run dev. Now there is a catch. It's just not typically that open that one in our installing a process. It's working something a different way. It's providing you the link, so you just need to copy that one. Then that's their application bundle which is handling all the formulation. I think it will change day by day. You know, that's just a couple of weeks. It just happened to be here. So day by day they're gonna upgrade it, they're gonna update it. But the best thing is that it's pretty simple and pretty cool. So now this is our the roundup application layer, and also if in the dev tools you can see our hello React Lynx is right here from this formulation. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove everything from here. I'm gonna remove all of the code here. I want to start a clean setup. So view is like the similar of the div, and for the text is like similar of the p tag h1 tag, because this entire thing is gonna support like for the, if you can say that one, for the web browser and web application, the same thing is gonna happen. So let's say our counter F, hit save, and after saving that one, there's still can be a little bit glitch, the way it's work, it's getting a little bit silly while how it's done the application. Maybe it take a bit of slow and laziness. Sometimes you just need to reload to go up and running, but as you see the notches here, it's not providing the way it's the glitches is right here. So what we can do here, what I'm gonna do, instead of going over and over here, I'm gonna remove everything, just keeping the root. Okay, remove everything, just keep the root as it is. So I have my, you see the text and others. I think instead of removing everything, we can just provide to remove I think the text, I'm gonna keep it, content, and also the keyframe which is not required, logo, banner, and the app. Okay, and also happen to be the background is not required for me. Okay, and yeah, I think we're good. We can remove everything. Okay, no worries. So the text, we're gonna fix that in a way. So first of all, I'm gonna just put something for the text itself. I need to align that one, otherwise you will see nothing here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a class name here for the text, and not class but the class name. So the class name, I'm gonna provide the class name as title. You can keep it the capital or a smaller letter, no worries, both way it will be fine, it will work perfectly. So now what I need to do, I need to provide a class name, the same similar parameter which we are working in that. So this is the text. Now what we can do, we can similarly get the text variation. So that's combine the tag of the text, and here we're gonna pass the color, and the color, we have the color text variable at the top, so we can combine that, and I see the tab is right there. So what we're gonna do here, in the source, we're gonna create a new folder or directory. We're gonna name it as a components. Here we're gonna create a wrapper which gonna combine all of the things here. So wrapper.tsx, and we're using the TypeScript, so the TypeScript configuration needs to be done. So simple function const wrapper, and that will be a similar arrow function here. We're gonna return, and from there we're gonna return a view. Okay, so the view, it will be returnable, and we're gonna return a children here. I'm gonna make it a little bit more bigger so you can see it properly. We're gonna return the children, and the TypeScript, we need to combine the type configuration. So let's just pass that interface. We're gonna define everything as a props. We're gonna pass the children, which will be react node, and here when you define the children, so that children, it should be coming up from the props directly, and initially it's gonna handle everything perfectly. So that's our wrapper, and of course we need to export that wrapper. If you're using the React Native RAFCE, the command will do all the saving purpose. Those things gonna come. There is a packages, RS build packages manager, the Tailwind configuration, the SaaS configuration, lots of things here still there. You need to just go and explore a bit. We're gonna do it in a way, but we're gonna go a little bit slow and steady. So here everything I'm gonna keep within that wrapper. So after the view, I think we can just leave the view as it is, because we can top of the view we can pass that one. So we're gonna pass that wrapper, and we're gonna just pass everything there. Now there is the simple thing, once you keep that wrapper, as you see the JSX, we created that one as a TypeScript, should be the TSX, but once you down the TSX, there is an error, because by default the Tailwind, the TypeScript configuration, you need to just make the tune a bit. And don't worry, whatever the code we are doing here, I'm gonna create a repo, I'm gonna pass it to you. So it's not typically like React Native to configuring a big problem. No, it's very simple. So you're gonna clone it and done it in a very good way. So follow through all the code, you're gonna have it. I'm gonna provide the repo, and you can just try it yourself, just run the code and it will be perfect. Now after the JSX preserve, we need to pass that another command which will be like allow, and that would allow, I think, the importing extensions, and that should be the true. Okay, so that's the one module you need to make it true. I'm gonna keep everything as it is, and at the bottom I'm gonna add one more parameter which should be that no emit. Okay, so I'll not go with the no emit, and that should be also true. done. And after doing that one, I think it should work. Yeah, now you see the TSX configuration is perfectly aligned. I'm gonna remove all of the unnecessary code is underlying here. So now as you see, we have wrapper, but we need to provide a class name for the wrapper. So provide the class name, and I'm gonna make that as a wrapper, and I'm gonna copy that. See, we have one app.css. So let's go here. I'm gonna I'm gonna pass that wrapper here, and now we need to provide some of the class name for the wrapper, which will let our wrapper to substantially make the height and width and make a proper alignment. So how we can do that? First thing first, I'm gonna make the margin top, which going to be just 55 pixel. I tried that, and thus the pixel is making for Android and iOS, making configuration is right, and margin right should be aligned to 10 pixel. And you know, the padding vertical and padding horizontal, margin vertical, margin horizontal is not working yet, so it's not just giving the proper scenario. As you see, our counter application is done. Now if you want to make that one as a background white and black, you can just change it here and it will be similar. You see our counter app, boom, done. So I'm going to keep it black and white. I think it will be looks perfect to see that. So now we have our counter application, just first scenario. Now what we need to do in a counter application, there should be two buttons, right? Two buttons and plus minus and one, you know, the state management and mutation, everything should be happening right there. And typically if you go in the documentation here, so this is everything of React. If you just see that React Lynx, so whatever the React configuration is happening, all are combining and aligned with React 17 plus. So we can have a very good featureable idea. If you know the React application, Nextjs application, you are welcome here. And you know, in the last video I was just discovered that they are using React router for routing, which if you are using that React native, you need to go with lots of parameter for the screen resolution to combine with the navigation params and others. But here only with same the React native as the React router configuration. Okay, so enough talking. Now what I'm gonna do here, first we're gonna introduce something. I'm gonna take in the wrapper, I'm gonna take in another view. So let's say view, and in the view I'm gonna pass that, let's say in the view it should be another view, and here I'm gonna pass the text that should be, because right now we're not gonna use any icon, we're gonna just go with a very simple configuration. So let's say that should be, first one should be minus, so the minus, so you're gonna see a minus icon there. Then I'm gonna just copy our text view, and that should be a 0 parameter. Let's copy this entire thing, and here we're gonna make that one as a not like that, as a plus icon. Okay, so we have a plus minus. So if we click on the plus, it will increase the counter. If we keep on the minus, it will decrease the counter. So now we need to provide some class name for that. This view, put a class name. I'm gonna make that view as an app. You can keep the lowercase or smaller case, that's up to you. And also this view, so class name, I'm gonna make that view as a content. I'm gonna put the content class name, and for this view put a class name, and I'm gonna pass that as a counter button. Make that counter btn. I love to go with the camel case properties, so the same thing should be, that should be the counter button, and as usual that would be the counter button. And here I'm gonna put a separate class name. Let's say I'm gonna put that one as a title 2, so you know that should be aligned together. And for this one, this all the text, I'm gonna put a similar value. Okay, where am I? Just okay, let's this one and this one class name. Let's say I'm gonna pass that button text. Okay, or you can just go with that btn text. Okay, one others title, others is button text, or I think we can go with the similar of the title, not that much differentiate. Forget about the design, make it as simple as possible. So now let's go in the app.css, because we're gonna provide the design parameter. First of all, we're gonna make that one the app. So the app, let's say we're gonna make that a position. So I'm gonna make that position as fixed. I'm gonna try to provide a background notation, so that way it would be a little bit perfect. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go with that black and white scenario, so that it gonna properly align. Okay, black and white. And here, so position is fixed. I'm going to provide a background, and here you can simply use that linear gradient. That's really I like, because simple gradient you can just make that to happen. So to top, and I'm going to make that an RGBA. So that's the color configuration which we're going to provide. So it should be 0, then 0, 0 and 1, and then I'm going to make it as a 70%. So that value going to be a 70% thing, and then I'm going to provide another RGBA, and here I'm going to provide that 12. So I'm going to make a little bit greenish property here, 138, and then I'm going to provide the 75, then 0.05. okay, and after that I'm going to provide the value here. The value should be aligned together. Let's say that one, how much configuration we can provide. So that is the 5, and I'm going to make it 100% properties here. Okay, that's the one thing. And here after that I'm gonna provide the width. So the width should be 100% and height should be 100%, not auto but 100%. So it will take the entire properties. You see little bit like a greenish property here. You can just toggle through here, you know, you can just change that one, make that one happen, but I love to go with that. Okay, cool. So from the top you can align it. You can make it like 70, 50, 80, you can go through, but I'll just go with the 70, so the top layer it will just focused. Oh, that's the one thing. Now what we need to do is that we need to go with, like, if we go in our app here, so this is the content layer is just coming. So in the let's just design the title here. So the text should be looking perfect. For the title, I want it to be visible and perfectly aligned. So let's say font size, that should be, I'm going to provide a 30 pixel, and also the font weight, I'm going to provide that as 700. So a little bit a bigger font, you see. Okay, cool. You know, I'm just removing the concept for the design parameter. You can make it looks much more better and appreciable. And for the content, and let's say the content value, how we can do and configure that. You can just make that one as a display, should be a flex, and let's say ln items. Ln items should be center. Hit save. So it will be in flex properties, and I'm going to provide a gap of 10 pixel. So that's really enjoying to develop this kind of application, because in React Native you cannot provide the gap. That's pretty much very difficult to combine that here. But this is following same like the expo is happening here. Okay, so now as you see we have some of the values. So we have the title, we have the content, and there's the other properties. So now what we can do here, because I wanted to provide, like, instead of after that wrapper I can take another view, let's say view, and here passing everything, and then I'm gonna provide a class name, and that class name gonna combine that counter. So now we can pass the ratio to focused to build our counter ratio. So dot counter, and in the counter what we're gonna do, I'm gonna also make the display flex ratio. So that's let's make that one should be display, not inline but flex, and you see it gonna go side by side, and I'm gonna make that flex direction in the column, and also let's say ln items should be center, so it's gonna be in a center align, you see that, and I'm gonna provide a gap of 10 pixel, you know. Okay, so done, there is a gap. So now what we can do, we can just align that one, this button statement, right? So we have the content, now we can just align that button. Okay, so the counter button, how are we gonna do that? I'm gonna pass the border, and the border should be 1 pixel. I'm gonna make it a solid, and I'm gonna just provide the white color right now. So you see it's happening, and then I'm gonna provide the width, which should be, let's say, 30 pixel, and the height should be, let's say, 30 pixel. You can also go with the padding, but I think this is the similar way. And hit save, and you see the width height. So display should be flex, done. Justify content should be center, and ln item should be center to be keeping in that in the middle. So as you see, this is just happening there. Now instead of that, you see the button text, this text is getting a little bit grumpy here. If I put 20, you can see that's perfectly aligned. So it is up to you, you can configure. So this is not my conception to go with that, but you can also provide like a little bit bigger size here. You can make the button bigger and then it will be in a proper shape. Okay, fine. Now there is another properties here. You see the title. So I'm gonna make the title as not the title, but let's say count value. So count value, so that we can align that one in a perfect way. So dot count value, this count value should be, let's say, font size. We're gonna make the similar font size 30 pixel, and then a font weight, I'm gonna make that one as a 600. And after that, let's say margin right, that should be a gap here. Margin right should be 5 pixel. You can also make that one as a padding, like a gap. There is a gap between, but you can arrange that one. And also make that margin left should be 5 pixel. So margin left, done. Okay, there is a problem, margin, done. And then you can also, let's say, text align should be in the center, because if you want to provide a width, you can provide here too. If I make a 20 pixel, you can see it will that will take the pretty much almost the appearing distance if it's wanted to. So now we have our calculator, like a counter application, all the parameter done. Now we need to provide that our counter. How we can do that? Simple. If we go here, we just simply do const should be a count, and then let's say the value should be set count, and useState we need to make it 0, and we need to import that useState from that Lynx React. If you go at the top, not in the legacy, but I think it should be appearing from that Lynx React.js. I'm gonna just try again one more time. So that's useState. Typically, it's coming from the React. You know, the editor is setting up in that way, but it should be coming from that Lynxjs React. Try to this capture, otherwise you should have a problem here, because if you go back in our package.json, you see that one here. So that is built up Lynxjs React. So that's, we need to configure that. So save. Now we have our count value. So what we're gonna do, if we just make that one a console here, let's say log, we want to get the count value, and just we're gonna make a count text here too. If we just check here, you see the count false. Okay, why it's coming as false? Count should be 0, right? Okay, let's see. It's coming as a false value, but we can just make the reload. I think that should be, yeah, 0. It's sometime what I'm saying, the hot reload module still need to be update. It still need to be a little bit it's just squashing a bit. In the Windows is disaster. So Mac is still going through, but Windows is having a lot of trouble. But again, what I say, it's just a new application. It will take time to go through in a different level, but the module based is perfect here. So if you're facing the error, try to reload sometime, close the app and run again. But I'm feeling pretty much good here, because when I started using React Native like 3 years before, it was a little more hectic than this one. So I think this is still that Lynx is in a very good position to bargain those kind of things. Okay, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna, as you see, we have the count value, right? Now we need to create a function by which we can add counter value, we can decrease counter value. So now we can call a function here. Let's say if we just, okay, I'm gonna keep that console as it is, and also instead of that 0, I'm gonna provide that our count value, the actual value here. So we have 10. 0. If we put 10, we should be having 10. But as you see, again, I'm saying that mutation, it will take a bit of time, but once it just happened to be there, it will work perfectly and simultaneously. Okay, so we got our count value as 10. So we will just simply run a new function here. So let's say const add, we can just we'll make some this one a simple one. So add count, and that add count should be a simple arrow function here. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna just make that set count should be count plus 1, and that add count should be here. As you see, there is no touchable opacity. It just simply, you can add that, which should be a bind tab, and in the bind tab you just write the function add count, and that thing's gonna take the hits. So that is okay, that should not be here, but in the plus icon it should be aligned together. So hit save. So I click 1, it's adding 11, 12. Okay, so we need to start from the 0, then it will work perfectly. But right now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna also add a the decrease count here. So should be a minus count, and it's another arrow function here, and I'm gonna make that set count should be count -1. And what I'm gonna do here, let's just come over in this segment here. I'm gonna pass that, so should be that bind tab, and there should be the minus count. So now if we go try to minus, okay, done. Now here if I'm minusing, it's getting more than 1, which in typical parameter which is happening here. So I'm gonna cut that one, writing a condition if the count should be, let's say count is equal to 0. I'm gonna just make the simple one. Okay, make the count, set count should be like as usual 0, and otherwise else I'm gonna run this function altogether. If we go right now, go a plus button, if we try, okay, nothing happened. So now also we can do another parameter which is called the reset button. That's also we can introduce here in a variable segment. So after that's a counter segment here, so after this parameter, let's see, this one should be another view. By the way, you can also directly make bind tab in the text, no worries about that, it will also work, but I love to put that in the view. Should be reset, let's say count, and here I'm gonna pass that, I'm gonna keep it a simple text here, and class name, let's say try to name it as reset btn, and the bind tab should be a 0 value. If we click here, 0. So now we can also make that one a design a bit so that it gonna look a little bit different. So let's just go in our CSS here. Okay, so dot reset btn, and here what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make the border which should be 1 pixel solid white, and then I'm gonna make that one as a padding parameter. So padding should be not auto, but I'm gonna provide a 5 pixel of padding, and then border radius should be 5 pixel. Done. And as you see, that's look comfortable. So now with that, you have your typical counter application here, and it's very simple, and configuration is very amazing. So now that is how we can configure the other parameter. There is, if you just click here, let's see if we have the plugins. So later on we're gonna go with the plugin, how we can configure the plugin, because the plugin is gonna come with RSPD, not directly in the Lynx, but using the RSPD. So we will try to combine all of the plugins, SAS plugin, less ESLint, type check plugin, image compress, type CSS, tailwind CSS. And again, what I'm saying, those this playlist, save this one, because the Lynx parameter, after just give it probably a few months, that would be a booming in that application build site. So stay tuned and try to learn everything, like a single thing in every day. So that would be a perfect, because there will be a separate application, a counter. Now we did the counter to the application e-commerce, so we will drop the design slowly, and you're gonna understand it. So there is 2 things you need to provide. First, I need to provide you the Windows setup. Lots of people are asking, I'm gonna do that, and also the tailwind setup and other CSS setup. Stay tuned, we're gonna build and we're gonna learn everything from the scratch. And by the way, what I said to you, I'm gonna providing that code. Why I'm not doing that? So let's go, I'm gonna create a repo here, and from that repo, let's start the repository, and here I'm gonna just pass that Lynx counter app. Okay, Lynx. Okay, I'm gonna also make another dash, Lynx counter app, and I'm gonna take my ownership. I will make it as public so you can access that one. Okay, I provide the name in a different place. Okay, that's my bad. Create the repository, and while it's creating, I will just simply take another terminal here, and did it just created one git ignore file? Okay, it's here. So now I'm gonna make that git init. Okay, sorry, that should be git init, git at dot, and let's say git commit. Commit should be an, let's say, initial commit. And what I need to do is to tracking my application, binding that one with this one. So copy that, round up here. So all the code, you're gonna have it right now. You can just simply run it and try it by yourself. The link, it will be in the description. You can just grab the link, and other necessary link, it will be right there. You see the source, everything aligned together. So you can have it, you can try it as your own, and let me know in the comments how you can go to the Hive, how you can learn more about, and what's configuration side you want to deal with that. And there is one e-commerce pending, you know, I'm working with that. You're gonna grab it as soon as possible. So all the best. We'll see you in the next build. Stay tuned and let me know in the comments what kind of scenario you are facing badly, you are having any trouble, or you are liking the Lynx, or you are liking the React Native. Let me know. Just fire up in the comments and like this video if you are loving it, and then also be subscribed. So we'll see you in next video.